As adult collectors, many of us have that missing link from our childhood collections. Every one of us has that missing action figure playset, you know, that one that just seemed to have gotten away. We all had that conspicuously absent birthday present or that missing gift from under the Christmas tree. And of course, we all went on to have perfectly normal and complete childhoods despite this. We all went on to be almost normal functioning adults, but there was always that one part of us that longed to make good on that certain absent collectible from our childhood. For me, that missing grail was the Luke Skywalker in Imperial Stormtrooper outfit from the very, very last wave of Kenner Star Wars figures from 1985. This, of course, was from the Power of the Force line, and this was an incredibly elusive action figure for many, many collectors back in the day. Of course, even as an adult, this figure has continued to elude me, pictured here in Steve Sansweet's action figure archive from 1999. This figure was almost within my grasp at the tender age of 10 when one of my good friends at the time obtained one. And as an early 10-year-old grifter, I almost had that poor sucker of a friend of mine convinced that I would trade him a duplicate copy of Darth Vader that I happened to own, a Bib Fortuna, a scuffed-up Gamorrean guard, and because I was such a nice guy, I'd even throw in my Death Squad commander figure. All for this one figure. That was like 5 figures for one, and I almost had it. I almost had my hot little hands on this grail, until his bitch of a mom vetoed the trade. And from this day, I have yet to obtain one. I once saw him the other day at an action figure comic book store for almost $300. And Knick-Knack is way too cheap for that. With that near miss still stinging almost 11 years later, with the release of the Power of the Force 2 line, you could say I was ready to overcompensate. So of course I got my hands on every single Luke Skywalker in Stormtrooper gear that I could get my hands on. But alas, even the sexy freshness of the modern line could not alleviate the feeling of a grail lost from childhood yesteryear. Hence, this particular hot toy was a must for the Plastic Planet. Hot Toys Hump Day is next. Knick-Knack's Plastic Planet presents... It's a Knick-Knack micro moment! Hey, welcome back inside of the Plastic Planet. I am your host, Knick-Knack, and if that intro wasn't any bit of a hint of what figure we're going to be going over this week on Hot Toys Hump Day, well, here he is. The 1/6 scale Hot Toys figure from A New Hope with Luke Skywalker featured in his Stormtrooper disguise. I absolutely love this figure. This is going to be a quick Hot Toys Hump Day because really, when you have perfection, or damn near close to perfection, I should add, there really isn't a lot to say. Perfection is spelled with a P. Well, you better give this one a capital P because this figure is indeed almost perfect. The Stormtrooper armor fits him like a glove. It looks fantastic, hangs off his body amazingly in a realistic sense. You get a real sense of screen accuracy here, right on down to Luke Skywalker or Mark Hamill's long 70s hair. Look at his face. His face even shows perspiration. I don't know if that's showing up on camera really well, but you can see the little dots of perspiration across his face as he's removing that helmet, because of course he's been sweating in it. This figure just rocked my balls off when I got it. I absolutely love this figure. Just 2 small notes of criticism here. I think his skin tone looks a tad too dark for Mark Hamill or Luke Skywalker back in 1976. And of course, he comes with that awful red great stand that I can't stand. Compare that to the awesome Death Star deck plating and illuminated backdrop wall that the 1/6 scale Han Solo came out with earlier this year, and that red grade is pretty damn impotent. Nevertheless, despite those few tiny shortcomings, this figure is absolutely amazing. Let's do a little bit of compare and contrast. Alrighty, and for once, and I do mean for once, I do not have previous Sideshow versions to compare and contrast with these awesome Hot Toy versions that just came out a few years ago. If you will recall, Sideshow Collectibles came out with a two-pack of Luke Skywalker and Han Solo in Stormtrooper disguise. It was, I believe, a convention exclusive, and I had to balk at it at the time because I was in a little bit of financial dire straits. I mean, nothing big. I mean, I wasn't eating out of garbage cans and dumpsters, but, I was, maybe premium action figures were not on the forefront of my budget with 2 children in childcare. So anyway, when these 2 came out from Hot Toys, I was so glad in hindsight that I didn't get the Sideshow versions, because for once, I didn't have to do any rebuying. And these 2 figures are absolutely awesome, and in my opinion, blow those previous 2 versions right out of the water. This is, of course, how they display inside of my Detolf right here in the Plastic Planet. Alrighty, well, that's going to wrap up this edition of the Plastic Planet and bring yet another awesome Hot Toys Hump Day to a close. I hope you've enjoyed this little mini showcase of the 1/6 scale Luke Skywalker in Stormtrooper disguise, a figure that has done very, very well on the secondary market. I believe he's getting very hard to find for under $300, if not impossible at this point. So I'm very grateful to have mine. It was one I pre-ordered. Glad I didn't hesitate on that one. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you hesitate and you end up regretting it. Sometimes you don't hesitate and you're fine because you can get it later on, maybe even a little cheaper. But this was one of those cases where that was not the case, and I'm really glad I have mine. Anyway, like I said, that's going to wrap up this edition of the Plastic Planet. And you know what? As I always like to say, please like, comment, share, and also please do subscribe. Really would love to have you here each and every week on the Plastic Planet. We have a lot of fun, I think. Also, follow me on Instagram. I mentioned this in my last couple videos. I am now on Instagram. You can see behind-the-scenes stuff, pictures of the collection, really fun stuff on Instagram. I post a couple times a day. I try not to spam you too bad, but I do post a couple times a day. Just like I said, collection pics and fun behind-the-scenes stuff from right here in the Plastic Planet. Can't have enough Plastic Planet, at least I don't think so, because this is a pretty cool place to be. Alright guys, well, like I said, it's going to wrap things up, and you know what, guys? Hey, you know what? Life is short, so fill it with some plastic crap! Alright guys, till next time. Love ya.